I just look, man, I'm a lucky guy. I get just to do this for a living. It looks like we're not working at all, doesn't it? When I was about 4.5, I was out in our front yard in Greenville, Ohio. It's the town I was born in. Also the town that Annie Oakley was born in. And we had this whole line of you know that space, that little grass strip between the sidewalk and the street? That's the way it used to be. And we had a bunch of elm trees out lining the street. And on the elm tree, it was this big, huge trunk. To me, of course, I was 4.5. The trunk was like redwood. There was this little brown furry thing. And I thought, that's cool. So I went inside. And I went up in my bedroom, and I got a Pied Piper shoebox. And I ran outside, and I scooped this little brown thing into the box. And then I brought it into the house, into the kitchen, where my mom was at the sink. She was just always there at the sink. And I said, Mommy, look what I found. And I held it up to her, and she looked down, and she said, not in the house! Not in the house! I said, okay. And I ran outside and took it outside the house. I said, oh my gosh, wow. Oh, I was surprised. I mean, not at the content. She said that all the time about everything, me included. But it was the force, the vehemence. You know, we always wonder, like, where did you learn language like that? Well, when we say those words, there's always a lot of emotion in them. That's why we remember them. So I was very struck, and I learned a lesson right then, and I've remembered it my whole life, and I've never done it again. So you never intentionally bring a bat into the house. Just don't do it. And I didn't. And the years have passed, I wanted less and less to do with bats. In the instance of bats, absence only makes the heart grow more circumspect. I didn't want any. I would see them and I'd say, you are fine out there. But several years ago, a bat got into our house. And what was worse was it got into our bedroom. And the thing that was really interesting about this, when the bat showed up in our bedroom, was immediately, without words being spoken, because my wife doesn't need to speak so many times. Her ability to communicate is incredible. Without words being spoken, I knew that this was my fault and my problem, which was a total mystery to me. How did this be and we woke up, and we were just aware of it. It was just like we were both awake all at the same time. I was lying, looking up, and it's just this thing going. And I'm lying there, thinking, there's a bat. Wow. This is okay. It's a bat. But she's next to me. And she's just lying there. And she says, in her incredible way of communicating, there's a bat in the house. There's a bat in our room. And I said, I know. And she said, what are you going to do about it? And it just didn't seem fair. I mean, I was just as freaked out about the bat as she was. Why did I have to do something about it? And so I didn't want to say that because I knew which way that was going to go. So I was trying to think of something to make her feel more comfortable about bats. And I said, you know, there are no vampire bats in North America. And she said to me, not in the house. And I thought, I've heard that before someplace. And I said, you know, it's just a myth that bats get caught in people's hair. Because I had read that someplace. And she said, how would you know? I thought that was kind of unkind. But now I'm running out of arguments for why the bat is fine where it is, just fluttering over our heads, running around in circles. So I began to offer up this important ecological information. You know, why we should learn to live in peace with the bats. And I said, do you know that have you tried this? Have you know that bats eat up to 3,000 mosquitoes an hour? because that's important, right? This is a big deal with the mosquitoes. And she said to me, there's no mosquitoes in the bedroom. And I said, that's because we have a bat. Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys thought it was funny. You should have been there to laugh with me. Because she just said, not in the house. What are you going to do? I said, I don't know. I said, okay. So no, I don't know. I've never had to deal with a bat in the house. I don't know what to do. So I kind of roll off the bed. Now I'm crawling across the floor. It's like Vic Morrow in a Combat episode or something. That's an old reference, forget it. Okay. And I go into the bathroom. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just kind of like, so I open up the door in our master bath. This is a master bathroom. Didn't you love when they say that? We had this addition put on, so here's the master bedroom, here's the master bathroom. It's like 3 square feet bigger, it's a master bathroom. And like there's a master toilet, and there's a master shower, there's a master sink, and underneath the master sink is a master garbage can, a little garbage can, useless. Those bathroom garbage cans are useless. You get one, it comes in a paper bag, you put the paper bag in a garbage can, and it's already full. I don't get it, but anyway. So I grab the garbage can, and now I've got the garbage can. Now I have some kind of thing to hold the bat. Okay, what am I going to do? And I'm kind of crawling around, and every once in a while the bat kind of just alights on a curtain or something, and then it's over there in the corner of the window. I put it on, I say, okay, now I got the bat like this. This is great. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm looking on my chest of drawers there, and there's a piece of cardboard. At least there is in this story. It's important, so the cardboard just happens to be there. But there was a piece of cardboard. Just trust with me. Just go with me on this whole thing. So I slip it outside. I've got it like this. Okay, now we've got this little deck that leads out from our bedroom onto this little deck on the second floor. So I kick the door open, and I open the thing, and the bat's just gone. Yeah, well, listen, I really appreciate you applauding, and I would have appreciated some applause when I went back in the bedroom, but she was already asleep. It's like, what is the point? You're endangering your life, and then she's asleep already. But, the bat was gone, so it was great. But, I called up my friend the next morning. I was talking about something. He said, hey, man, we had a bat in our house last night. He said, oh, wow, what'd you do? I said, I caught it. He said, you caught it? I said, yeah, I caught it in this garbage can. I got outside. He said, Bill, you shouldn't touch those. I mean, they could have rabies. And I said, well, actually, I've Googled this whole bat thing already. And, these little brown bats that we have, they die almost instantly if they got rabies. He said, don't mess with them. I said, well, I don't know. What should I do? And he said, well, I don't know. Like, I get a tennis racket and hit it. And I said, well, okay, but I didn't have to do that because, the bat's gone. I thought. The bat came back the very next day. It did. Or its friend. Or its cousin or something. I don't know how they relate to each other. But this time, it showed up, but this time it didn't come into our bedroom. It came into our son's room, our 17-year-old son. About 2 o'clock in the morning, suddenly he's standing at the threshold of the master bedroom, bothering the master in his sleep. He says, Dad. It's like, why do you wake me up? He said, Dad. I said, what? He said, there's a bat in my room. And I looked at him, I said, this is incredible. He said, what? I said, it's like genetically encoded. The language facility is passed down, matrilineally. He said, what do you mean? I said, because I knew the thing that was amazing about my wife is that she says one thing, just a simple sentence, but then it just means all these other things. She doesn't have to, she speaks in this incredible shorthand of language. Like a week or two before, I was having breakfast and I was reading the box scores of the Red Sox for the third time, realizing, what am I going to do with my life, and having a second cup of coffee. And she comes into me, she says, there's a dead groundhog in the backyard. Now, for most people, that's what it means. There's a dead groundhog in the backyard. And you go, oh, that's interesting. But that's not what my wife means, see? It doesn't mean that at all. It means you doing nothing apparently of value. Get up, go out in the backyard, pick up the dead groundhog, get rid of it. I don't care where it is. Once I'm working, I have the little office, this little one-room building behind my house, and I'm out there working, and when I walked out there that day, I saw there was like a dead bird lying in the yard, and I think I'll take care of it later, right? And my wife comes out to talk to me, and as she walks with the path, she's going like this. Like, as long as she doesn't see it, it's not there. So she says, take the dead groundhog and get it out. But she just says, there's a dead groundhog in the yard. That's incredible. So I turned to my son and I said, there's a dead groundhog in the yard. And he says, cool. And he goes out and looks at it. He said, it's been there for a while, Dad. It's getting bigger. It's expanding. And I look at my dog, because I knew my dog was responsible. He was the one who was always offering me gifts, like, here, Buana, look what I've created for you. Another carrion, you know. And so I look at him, and he goes like, that's for you. So I get up, and I take the dead groundhog, and I throw it. We have this little netherland, this little no man's land, this demilitarized zone between my yard and my neighbor's yard, where the grass isn't cut, and nobody really wants to take responsibility. And I threw it out there in the deep grass. And I look at my son, and I say, this is incredible. You're just like your mother. He said, there's a bat. And I said, what are you going to do about it? He said, I'm sleeping in the guest room. And I said, well, close your door. He said, okay. So I hear him go down and close the door, just right near the door right next to our bedroom. And he goes into the guest room. And I'm lying there thinking, this is all right. Every once in a while we hear it. Running into the door. I said, it's all right. I'll deal with it in the morning. Not in the house. Oh! So I get up, and I remember what my friend said, so I go down into the closet that's just filled with many lost things, years and years of lost things, and I'm down on my knees, and I find a racket, and I take it up there, and I open up my son's door, and the bat just flies over my head back into our bedroom. Great. Now the whole house is woken up. The dog's going, arr, 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 arr. My son's going, did you get it? My wife's going, not in the house, not in the house. And the bat's flying around, and I'm swinging at the bat. And guess what? The bat has radar. It's having a swinging. I was telling this story to a friend of mine. He's a elementary school principal in Michigan. And he said, we had a bat in the first grade room. The teacher comes running down the stairs, the hallway. There were some stairs, and then there was a hallway. She came running down the hallway after she ran down the stairs. It was just a one-floor school, forget it. She comes running in the office, and she says, there's a bat in my room, because she could speak in shorthand too. And he's the principal, and he doesn't remember that being on his job description, but he knows it's his job. And he said, he said, when you see a bat, you do this. You just cannot think anymore. All of your intelligence just disappears. It's some primal thing that just makes you go, death and destruction. So he said, I'm not thinking very carefully, so I'm looking for something to swing at the bat, and my eyes come to rest upon the stop sign of the crossing guard. Think about the physics of this. So he picks it up and he runs down the hallway with the stop sign. And he runs into the first grade, and now the first grade has been evacuated, and the second grade has been evacuated, and Channel 7 Eyewitness News has shown up, said, rabbit bats threatening the elementary school population. And he's swinging, and he's missing, but finally the windows are open and the bat flies out. And the kids file back in. And the last kid looks up at him and says, Mr. Rich? Yeah, Daryl. Bats can't read. So anyway, I'm swinging, and I hit it. And it reverses course, and its wings just splay out. And it hits the wall. And it slides down the wall. And I go over, and I touch it, and it flies up. And my son says, you killed it! My wife says, not in the house! And my dog is barking, and I said, I'm just trying to make you happy. Boy says, get it out. I said, okay, I know. So I get a little hand cloth. I pick up the bat. Oh my gosh. They're so little. They're so small. I take the tip of its wing and I pull it out, and it looks like a human arm. And I think to myself, how did all this fear get attached to this little living thing? This little bit of wildness comes into our life and we lose our minds. We're overcome with fear and we don't know what to do but strike out. My friend Dovey Thomason, storyteller, she's Kiowa and Lakota. She says the Lakota say that when God was done making the world, there was just a little bit of everything left over. And so the Great Spirit made it into a bat. I was talking about bats to this woman up in Harvard, Massachusetts. She said, my dad came from Italy. And one evening in the gloaming, when the sky is that beautiful color of blue, and when the bats come out and you can see them against the sky, they were running around screaming because of the bats. And he said, no. And he went in the house and he came back out with a bread box with a glass front, like we used to have, and his fedora. And he said, watch. And he threw the fedora up in the air, and it landed. And then he reached underneath it and pulled out the bat, and he put it in the bread box, and he said, look. And then he told her this poem, Poco topo, poco cielo, pipistrello. Little mouse, little sky, little bat. The Chippewa Cree say that when the animals and the birds were fighting, the bat would side with the birds when they were ahead. And then when the animals got ahead, he would side with the animals. And finally, when peace was declared, they said, you can belong to neither of us, which is why it flies around at night. But I think the one that's closest for me is the Hopi. The Hopi say, with all the worlds that were created, and people cannot, or creatures can't pass from one world to another, except for the bat. The bat is at the edge of our existence. It lives a liminal existence. We see it right before it becomes dark. We see it out of the corner of our eyes. It's a mammal, kind of, but it flies. It's just a little bit different. But truly, they're as common as chickadees and sparrows, wrens, rabbits, and truthfully, and we know this in New England because the little brown bats are dying out, they are more important to the world than we are. How did we attach this fear to this little thing? So I took it out there and threw it out there with the groundhog, a little small animal compost pile. And the next night, there was another bat. Oh my gosh, now I'm living like it's like Bill Murray's Groundhog Day. It's just going to keep coming back at me until I figure it out. It shows up in our bedroom, and my wife just puts a pillow over her head and goes, ah, and she runs downstairs. And now I'm in the room with the bat, and I'm going to figure this out. And I shut the door so I can't escape. And then I crawl around, and I open up the windows. We have 3 windows looking out into our backyard. I push out the screens. They're wide open. I open up all the doors, and I huddle in the corner, and I watch this thing just fly around. And it's a full moon, I remember, and the moon's shining down onto our bedroom floor. And it's silent and still. And every once in a while, there's just a faint flutter of the wings of the bat, and I watch it. It's circling clockwise, just circling. I wonder if it circles counterclockwise in South America. And just for a moment, I sensed what it really was. Not all the things we attach to it, which is what we do as storytellers, but what it was just a little living thing looking for a way out. And Jen, just as quietly as this, it was gone. Best way to get rid of a bat is to open the window. But I didn't want to admit that that's all it was. I went and stood at the top of the stairs and I said, "Bat's gone, took care of it." Debbie came back up and we lay there in bed. She was kind of rolling over on the other side to go back to sleep. And I was just staring at the ceiling, thinking about a lot of the things that I just said now. And finally, I said to her, "Hey, Deb." She said, "What?" I said, "You know, they're really not that bad." And she rolled over. She got up on one elbow and she looked down at me and she said, "Not in the house." When the golden sun has set in the west, stars thrown across the sky, when the night is deep and the whole world sleeps, that's when the little bats fly, when the little bats fly. As you lay down to take your rest, they flutter above your head. There's the flap of wings as they squeak and sing, and fill your heart with dread, fill your heart with dread. But I am the Batman, I guard you while you sleep, while the bats fly around making squeaking sound. I will earn my keep, I will earn my keep. Batman lives by an ancient code that few would dare to claim. Standing proud and tall, he stoops and crawls, and so he earns his name. So he earns his name. He opens windows, he opens doors, roaming from room to room. Some might quake at the risks he takes, with only a racket and broom, only a racket and broom. But I am the Batman, I guard you while you sleep, while the bats fly around making squeaking sound. I will earn my keep. When the bats have left your home, when his work is done, there's nary a kiss for the sleep he's missed. He's gone with the rising sun, he's gone with the rising